to you, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Well, good morning and thank you for joining us. But before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Gadigal land and acknowledge elders both past, present and emerging. It is important to recognise that wherever you are also on Aboriginal land, and I would also like to pay my respects to all Aboriginal people past, present and emerging. So thank you so much for being with us here today. The purpose of today's presentation is really about communication. We really want you to know that we are ready to go with remote learning, and we can provide an outline of the key points for a smooth transition for students and parents. I want to reassure you that last year our students and families transitioned really well to remote learning, and I expect the same situation again this term. Thank you so much for completing the survey last week, and potentially even so, if you haven't done so already, feel free to call through if you need to pick up a laptop, because it's really important to know that our students are ready for online learning. And just a reminder that our school does remain open for essential workers only. So please remember, look out for those emails, because that is the way we will actually make contact with you, keep you up to date. But once again, make sure you call the school if you have any questions whatsoever. So first of all, this morning, I'm going to hand over to Jodie Kelso, who's just going to walk through what the revised timetable will look like. Over to you, Jodie.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, just while Nigel gets up the timetable for us to have a look at, thank you for joining us. The most important message from us today is we have set this timetable based on what we did last year. However, if you're not able to stick to this timetable, please don't worry or be stressed about that, because you can actually access your lessons at a later time in the day because they're in teams. So we do have that flexibility if, for example, the device is in use at home with another child or a parent who's in a work meeting at the time. So each session every day we'll start with a Meet Now for 10 minutes, which is a wellbeing check-in. Nice way for the students at home to see the teachers' faces at school and just have a little bit of a chat. And we usually do a birthday song in there if it's someone's birthday as well. Our session times have been reduced to 1 hour because it's a long time to stare at a screen all day, and a lot of the staff members found it quite challenging last year as well. So please make the most of the refresh breaks that we've set in there. Stand up, move away from the device, go for a walk if it's possible around your neighbourhood, or even just go to another room of the house, have a drink, go to the toilet, and then come back for your next session.
Thanks, Jodie.
Thank you.
Okay, so over the weekend, you would have received the INSID program of learning, which is a great reference guide for you and your child. I'm going to hand over now to Nigel, who's going to go through this document with a bit more detail.
Thanks, Robin. I've left that screen share up because that timetable actually is on that document as well. So at the top here, I want to point out something specific, is the YouTube videos that guide students from home how to access the material. Now, we do have iWeek, but we do understand that there are a lot of new Year 8 students who have joined us after that. And for our Year 7 students who haven't done remote learning before on their own devices, it will be worth having a look at those YouTube videos just to have a guide as to how to get to your learning materials using a browser and potentially downloading Teams. So that's what it looks like. It's just this. It just goes to a YouTube video and it has a step-by-step guide for how to access things. Most students might be across it, but it is worthwhile to have a look at that anyway. And just to reinforce how useful that remote learning guide is, there is information about how the lessons will go, as Jodie mentioned, how long they will go for and how the Meet Nows at the beginning will work. So it is a really, really important document to read through with your child and as a family. Now, I thought it might be a good opportunity just to quickly reassure the community that we have done this before with with as much success as we could have had last year. So I just wanted to give everyone an indication of what it looked like last year and what it will look like this year, because it will be quite similar. So if I just go to my Teams, this is my good old 7S science from the 7th of May last year, where we were doing remote learning. Now, this is what the learning will look like. So following the session times that Jodie spoke about and that are at the end of the document, the students will go to their team. So if they're in science, they'll go to their science team, and the teacher will post a instruction announcement here that has what exactly is being done, when the meet now will be, that starts every lesson, and gives students the opportunity to ask questions. So as you can see from this, there are 19 replies. I won't go through those necessarily, but these were where students were asking questions about the lesson. And the other key thing with the Meet Now is that they are recorded. The teacher instructions when they do the Meet Now will be recorded. So as you can see, there's a separate announcement there for each of the Meet Now. We just made it easier for students to be able to find. So this is what it will look like for a lot of your classes. You just get onto Teams, which is shown in the YouTube video. The teachers will post instructions for the lessons. They will often refer to the OneNote, which you can access through Teams as well, or through the OneNote app. All of that is included in the YouTube video. So, you take your time to have a work through that. And the teachers will be available here to reply to any questions during or after the session. And this is where they'll have that brief 5 to 10 minute Meet Now at the beginning of the lesson. So I thought that might be useful just to give a sense for the new families what this looked like last year and a bit of a refresher for the families from last year. I might stop that share there, and I've noticed there's a few Q&A questions, and some people have their hands up. People with their hands up, can you please type in the question and answer box? That will be much easier for us to answer the questions, but I'll pass back to Robin and Chris.
Thanks, Nigel. Well, I can see there are some questions there which are going to be useful to answer for everybody's benefit. So, Chris, I'll hand over to you in terms of what we're going to do for Year 8 PIP, and then we'll come back to Nigel for Year 7 PIP.
Okay, so thank you everyone who has expressed their preferences for the Year 8 6x3 PYP for semester 2. For week 1, so tomorrow, we'll actually be doing a general sort of lesson around design thinking. It was originally planned that we would be breaking up the groups then if we were here on site, but obviously that has changed. Obviously, with things changing on an everyday basis, the current plan is that we will go into those selected groups from next week, but that is subject to change. However, it is important, if you haven't already done so, it will be fantastic for families in Year 8, if you haven't expressed any preference yet for your PYP groups. The link was included in the email that we sent last week. If you could just complete that, that helps us with our planning. In terms of Year 7, Nigel?
So for Year 7, we will be doing a sustainability PYP. That will be less, it will be the common program for all of the Year 7 classes. They'll stick to their PYP class teams, and what I just showed you will be very similar. It'll be the same thing for PYP, and there will be lessons on sustainability. So a really exciting PIP semester coming up, which culminates in a lot of projects in Minecraft and things that we can start to see around the school. So it will be able to be amended for this period of remote learning, and something to look forward to, this sustainability PYP.
Just while you're talking there too, Nigel, just about the class notebook and content library, there was a question from Virginia as well as Michelle, just about accessing it. So if we just go through that just very quickly again, where students and how students would access it, please.
Yes, so I won't share the screen again, but I highly encourage, if you're unsure at all as to how to access the materials, those YouTube videos that I referenced that are in the email sent from the school. It says there's one for Year 7 and there's one for Year 8. If you watch that 10-minute video, pause when you need to, it will go through step by step how to access the learning materials for every single lesson that you'll have during remote learning. It's common, that's the great strength of our school. We do have a similar, we have the same approach in all of our subjects. So watch the video, it has everything step by step, and that document has the general information about the wider program if you need to. I hope that makes sense.
I'd also like to answer the questions around the laptops. What we can do is we will reopen our survey, send that link out again to you at the conclusion of this presentation, because there's a few questions around the pickup of the laptops. So if you wish to pick up a laptop, could you please fill out the survey, and you can indicate the best time to pick up the laptop, which, Chris, will be this afternoon.
At 3 till 4 o'clock, as well as tomorrow morning, 8:30 till 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so I think if we do, we'll send out that link again for you to complete that survey, so we do have that information from our families. Now,
Sorry, Robin, just quickly while you have the floor, obviously from an anonymous attendee, just how long will we need to do home learning and will it be on Zoom this whole time?
Okay then, well look, as we know at 11 o'clock there will be the press conference from the Premier, so we have no idea how long we're going to be remote learning for, but all we can say is that we'll be using the platforms that we have in place until further notice. Chris?
And from Jill, just about school uniform,
Look, we were talking about this before the presentation, and I actually think it's a really good idea in terms of mindset to get our students in the headspace of learning. So I would suggest that you do change into perhaps even your sports uniform, your school shirt, because I think it is an important way to get into that mindset that you are actually learning from home. And our work is going to be very similar to what you'll be doing within a school setting. So to answer your question, there's no discipline involved, but we think it's probably appropriate for students to wear their school uniform. Pretty much from a wellbeing perspective, to be honest.
Thanks, Robin. Jody, just a question about week A and week B, which we go in from Megan, into that for tomorrow.
Yes, we are currently in week 1, so week A on the student timetable, and the modified session times that we posted this morning will be in place for however long we are continuing remote learning.
All right, thanks for the feedback, Jenny. I'll try and raise my voice just a little bit. I am a little bit further back, obviously trying to socially distance. Kylie Boyd just asked, how does your son find out what kid they got into? They will be added to a team, so the teachers have the list. It was posted up here. At the end of last term. If your child has not yet selected, if you could just click on the link to select, that would be fantastic. There's only a few that are still outstanding. If we don't receive a selection, we might just allocate for the first semester, for the first session, a different group, just to make sure that they are included in a group. But they will be added to a team in MS Teams for PYP, and that's how they'll find out what they can.
But currently, though, they're staying within their existing class from last semester.
So for week 1, what they'll do is they'll go into PYP that was for semester 1, and they will be using that. All the instructions will be posted there for students for tomorrow. Just a question about. Okay, from Nick, just very quickly, if you are having a couple of concerns with OneNote and signing in, if you could just email the school, maybe with a screenshot, we can probably personalise a little bit of that support for you at a later stage. Rest assured, we will be able to find a solution for that. Okay, just a very quick question just about from Christine, just about Donna left her clarinet at school. Would she be able to pick this up tomorrow? Yes, that's fine. If she can come in at that time from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, I'm sure that we'll be able to arrange it for that clarinet. Band happening remotely, we might actually ask very quickly if we can Miss Lane, who's just off on the side, just to come and talk a little bit about or indicate for band.
At this point in time, all ensembles are actually working on different pieces of work. So if the students just go into their teams in the next couple of days, the teachers will post what they could be rehearsing, and then as we move forward, we'll actually put some extra things on. We're just kind of playing the waiting game at the moment. But there's definitely no reason why they can't be rehearsing at home if you would like them to.
Thank you, Renee. And back to you, Robin, just in terms of school starting today or tomorrow, I think.
Today is a school development day for staff. So students are returning to school tomorrow. So today's for staff and tomorrow will be for students. I hope that answers your question.
And just a question for Nigel, just a chance of the link for the attached videos. Only seems to have the timetable. This is from Rubens.
Yes, so I'm just trying to actually type this into the chat. It won't work. I'll put this into the chat if you need to. I know there were 2 emails. The first one is the one with the timetable. That might be the one you're talking about, Rubens. But the second one has the text plus the timetable at the bottom. So you might want to just search your inbox for that. But I'll while others are talking, I'll put it in the chat here now as well.
Okay, and just from PJ, Robin, just for essential workers, what happens to students at school?
Okay, so for students who will be on site at school, there will be minimal supervision and students will be issued with a laptop and they'll actually be doing the same work that students will be doing at home.
Thank you, Robin. So Feroz, just in regards to your PYP unit, if you can just put that into an email to the school, we will be able hopefully to facilitate that request. Okay, from another question from Anonymous, will we need to Zoom for any extracurricular activities? Is there anyone that would like to handle that question there? It will be unlikely that extracurricular activities at this point in time will be offered. Moving forward, it really depends on day by day what it looks like. So for now, there is no plans for any Zoom for any extracurricular activities. Once we are given the go-ahead or know the lay of the land a little bit better, we will be able hopefully to facilitate some sort of extracurricular activities, whether it be on site or via Zoom.
Can I just add to that, if there's any cost involved with those extracurricular activities, that of course will be resolved once students, when returned face-to-face, once those activities can start again. So we'll keep you posted about that.
All right, just a question from Lindsay, just asking if there is a code for them to log on in the morning. It is not through Zoom that we will have our meeting, the meet nows for students, if that is what you're referring to. It actually will be through Teams, and they will see that there will be, in one of those Teams, there will be a little camera icon, and it will just ask if they would like to join that meeting. So there is no need for a code. Lindsay, if that doesn't answer your question, feel free to drop an email to the school and we'll be able to answer it a little bit more thoroughly.
And just to add on to what Chris is saying, I know I've spoken the video a lot, but I know what I put in there. That is covered in that video too. So it shows you how to access it in the year group team, because that's where it will be. So the year 7s will be doing their meet nows in the morning together, and the year 8s will be doing their meet nows together in the morning. And the individual class teams are where the individual class meet nows will be. So that video does cover it.
Okay, I can see there's a question about sport.
So in regards to sport, thank you for that, Sue. It is something that is a little bit difficult given the context of individual households. There will be some suggested activities through the PDHP department. However, for sport, it will really be what is actually available to the individual student to do. Keep in mind too what Ms. Kelso said in regards to looking at that timetable and using that timetable. It is a guide, however, that might not be the suitable time for you and your family to go and exercise. So it is just about making sure that you are trying to be physically active where you can in the context for yourself. There will be no actual structured sport lessons. Currently, there will just be some suggested activities as a bit of an idea for families to engage in. From Anonymous, just will we be learning for 6 hours? I think, Jodie, we want to go just back to that timetable, just speak briefly about it again in terms of the actual requirements.
Sure. Okay, so we have reduced those learning sessions to 1 hour, and there is still our touchdown session occurring on those days. So the actual time that you're online is not including your breaks. So it is a little bit shorter lesson time than we would have if we were on site. But as you will all know, when you transform a classroom lesson into the virtual world online, it is quite intense, and you do need that extra refresh time, which is why we've shortened it that little bit.
Thank you, Jodie. Also, just thank you to Ms. Wood just for the information and the thanks there, and hopefully everyone at home also is staying safe. If there are any other questions in the Q&A, obviously we are conscious that there will be an update from the Premier at 11 o'clock, but if there are any last few questions, we're more than happy to answer them. Okay, just another question, just will our usual teachers, will it be with our usual teachers for each session? Ms. Kelso, if you wouldn't mind answering that?
Ms. Davies, we did speak about this earlier in the week. There has some private channels that have been set up for the touchdown groups, so they can actually socialise within their touchdown groups, which will be particularly important as if we are in this long term.
And we'll do that on Friday.
And that will be starting this Friday. We will be focusing on some mindfulness in the other sessions to help with any stress or anxiety, and also to keep practicing what we've been delivering here at school.
And just one final question, just about usual teachers teaching each of the sessions. Yes, your teachers will be available for each of the sessions, like Mr. Klein outlined. They will start with the meet now. They will post the work that needs to happen, and then they'll remain online too for any questions if you want to post it in the team. This is the system that worked really well last year. I really feel that it was quite seamless for students. We could see the interaction with the teacher for the students, and because they know all the platforms that we're working on and it's not new to them, it was very seamless for their transition.
And can I just pick up on that, a question by a parent that says, you know, if a child isn't getting the work finished in class time, my child is concerned. I think it's really important to be kind to ourselves as we go through this transition phase into remote learning. It's really important to be realistic about the workload that your child will be taking on, because it is different than having a teacher face-to-face in the learning space. So just please keep that in mind. If you do have any questions in relation to wellbeing, do not hesitate to contact the school. We are here. Now, on that note, I'm just checking, sorry, just to double check, I don't think there are any more questions coming through. Am I right, team?
No, there is not, Rob.
Oh, there's just one in the chat. So if we do a few of these as webinars, I'm going to put them in the Q&A. I saw one here about access to, I think we covered it briefly, but we can reconvene on it. What access do students have to teachers if they need help? As Chris just mentioned, the teachers will be available on their team for access during their learning session. And there's actually a lot of flexibility. All of our teachers have Surface Pros, which have pen functions. So it has been, we are quite lucky to have that functionality where the teachers can actually share their screen, and I'm just thinking of putting my head teacher maths hat on, can go through working through problems with the students, and the students can share their screen if needed as well. So that's how that will occur.
And just a question for Miguel regarding after hours mentoring activities. No, they will not be on until further notice. Thank you for that question.
Okay, I think.
Do you want to do that? No. There is one, sorry, I just popped it up there about the checkpoints.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is in the guide as well. One thing I didn't mention, which is a good flag, is there is also a student guide to remote learning, which will be communicating to the students. And that is a bit of a different lens to the document that I just showed you. It's more student friendly. It's going to be in all of their class notebooks, and it goes through things like prep. It goes through things like checkpoints. So it will look different. It's remote learning. So our approach to prep will be a little bit different. That's outlined in the student guide to remote learning. Excuse me. And our checkpoints too will be slightly different. We will still try to do it, as Robin mentioned. We do need to wait to see the advice on how long this will go for. But in previous last year when we did this, we were able to do some checkpoints, albeit a little bit different to what we would have had at school. We were able to do some checkpoints during this remote learning time.
Thanks, Nigel. Miguel, just following up with your question. So the mentoring program that happens on Mondays and Wednesdays, that will not occur because we are not allowed any people from external agencies to attend the school at the moment. But the moment that we are allowed to do it, we will be starting that up again. But thank you very much for your question. Well, it looks like there's no more questions here for the panelists. Obviously, I will hand back over to Robin, but if there are any final questions, please feel free to pop them in there just before we do, obviously, hopefully click over to the live stream from the program.
Okay, so on that note, I just need to reassure everybody that your child will be very well supported by their class teachers, but also by our head teachers and by our admin staff and by the senior executive here as well. So I just think we need to really keep that in mind. We are really fortunate here at Inner Sydney High School as a new high school. Last year, our parents were really pleased with the way in which we respond and how our students responded. And we keep on going back to that again, that it's really important that you know your child. If you have any concerns whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. And we do really appreciate your ongoing support. But once again, feel free to email or call if you have any questions. We are going to repost that survey just in relation to the pickup of laptops. So please complete that if you haven't done so already. And as Nigel mentioned at the beginning, if you know anyone that may have missed this presentation, you actually can watch it again if you really want to. It will be available on the YouTube channel. So on that note, I'd like to say, I suppose we can't believe we're in this position again. but can I say we are in a good position moving forward. So please take care, everybody, look after yourselves, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thanks for your time.